Hey everyone, Sycra here, and today I'm doing a speed sketch using traditional media, including brush pens and water brushes and pen. I think that's all of them. And so the way I started this out was just holding the pen very vertically. You can see I'm using like the flat part of the brush, and I'm just letting it glide over the paper and pick up what it wants. So I don't really know what I'm gonna be drawing when I draw it. This is pretty similar to the scribble technique where I'm just putting the marks down and then I'm thinking, what does this look like? And from there I build whatever it is. And I think this is something you can train, and the way I've been practicing it is to do this thing. I've mentioned it before, my secret sketchbook, and the reason it's a secret is because I think that's important to have something that is something that you don't have to ever feel like you have to share. Something that it's never going to be, oh, is this good? Is this bad? Instead, it's just, this is my expression, this is my self-expression, this is something that where I can be uncensored, where I don't have to worry about anything. And so I think it's a good idea to have a few sketchbooks. The ones I have right now are the Secret sketchbook, and that one, it's a sketchbook journal, so I draw in it every single day. And the reason I created it, I think in 2003, and it was because I was drawing now and then, but then I'd get, like, sometimes I'd get depressed and I'd have periods where I wouldn't draw at all. And so I thought of it like this. Okay, I'm going to create a sketchbook where I draw every single day. And it doesn't matter if it's, good or bad, I'm just going to draw every day. And at first it was very, inconsistent with how I was creating the works. Like, I had it so I'd have a page and then I'd separate them into small panels, and sometimes the panels were really tiny on the days where I didn't want to draw much. And over, I guess, in the 4th or 5th year, I started it where I just started splitting the page into quadrants, like 4 equal or almost equal portions. And anyway, so this was my way of being someone who drew every day. Doesn't matter if it's good, doesn't matter if it's bad, you just are someone who draws every day. Because I started feeling really bad when I would draw and I'd get excited about art and then I wouldn't draw for a month or a few weeks or something. It felt like, yeah, you should really be drawing. So I think one of the best ways to solve these problems is to make it something that, okay, 1, it's a habit and it's a routine, but 2, it's something you can always achieve. So anyway, so I have that sketchbook, and then I have my daily drawing sketchbook, which now has just become another thing where it's like, oh, every day I need to draw. Because the secret one is sort of, well, I'll talk about it later, but the daily one is the one you saw in Pointy Chins, if you've seen that video series Pointy Chins. That's where it's more me practicing. So this has nothing to do with commissions or work or anything like that. It's just, this is what I do for my own self-improvement. And then I have a travel sketchbook, which is more just, that's what I have with me at all times. So if I'm outside and I ever need to draw, then I don't have to worry about it. And the reason I created that is, there's 2 reasons. The first reason is I heard that artists carry, like, this was what I heard in high school. I heard artists carry a sketchbook everywhere. Like, that's just a thing. So I guess it's like your policeman's badge. You have an artist sketchbook. So that was one part of it. And the other part was, there would be times where I would forget to bring a sketchbook or something, or I just didn't bring a sketchbook, and then I'd be waiting for a bus or a train or stuck someplace and just bored, and then it's like, oh, I wish I had a sketchbook. And somehow, when I did have a sketchbook, I usually wouldn't end up in those situations as much. But when I didn't have it, it seemed like, oh man, I really could have used a sketchbook here. So I guess that's one thing. Like, oh yeah, if I take the sketchbook, then I'm probably not going to run into too many boring things because, but I don't know. I mean, that's not really the way it works. The way it works is that by having my sketchbook, sometimes I do draw in it. I'm trying to do that more. I think I've been succeeding, but I've been trying more and more to make it so every time you have some free time, you draw. And I think it does help. Like, all this mileage stuff really makes a difference. So, back to this secret sketchbook and how I do it. So, with this sketchbook, it's something that it took me a very long time to figure out. But becoming someone, at least for me, becoming someone who is uncensored was a lot of work. And it's because I've been a person that sort of cares what people think a lot. And I don't think this is a very good quality to have. There are definitely benefits with being someone who cares about what other people think. But it was really hard for me to get out of that. At first, I kept drawing as if someone was going to see it. And it wasn't so much like, oh, I'm not drawing things I want to draw. It's more that I would still feel like, oh, this was a bad drawing. And I would get an eraser and I would keep erasing it. But over the years, what I started to find was, well, I don't know how many years back it was, but I started to feel like I made this thing up, like, I'm not going to judge what I do. I'm just going to do a drawing, and I'm not going to fix it. No matter if it's good or bad, I'm not going to fix it. And the first time was really difficult. I was trying to draw, and it's like, nope, this line is wrong, and I wanted to erase it, but it's like, nope, you cannot correct it. And then what I found was I had done lines that turned into stuff that I didn't plan for. Like, at first I thought, oh, I'm drawing a face, and then maybe it would have turned into a tree or something. And so that led me to believe that there are sort of at least two parts that are drawing when I draw. There's a conscious part, and definitely for the pointy chin sketchbook one, the one where I'm just trying to improve and practice or whatever, that's very conscious. I'm really thinking about it. But for maybe I shouldn't call it a secret sketchbook, because it's not really a secret. I mean, everybody knows, or probably a lot of people know that I have it now. It's more private, I'll call it a private sketchbook. For my private sketchbook, it's not conscious. And so what I started doing is just put down a mark without judgment, and then put down another mark. And the hardest thing to fight is this urge to look at what you're doing and give it a meaning, give it a judgment. Like, oh, I am drawing a lizard, therefore I need to make this mark. Or like you might put down like a flowy mark and think like, oh, that looks like a mermaid tail. I guess I want to draw a mermaid tail. Let me draw a mermaid. And so with this whole non-judgment thing, the first thing is to just not put any meaning to what you're doing. Just let your hand go where it wants. And then the second part is to focus on how it feels in your body. So I pay much more attention to the tension in my body. I don't know, like when I'm doing a mark and it feels right, I get this feeling that it's not really a good feeling or a bad feeling. It's more like a relaxed feeling. Whereas when I'm going to put down a mark where it shouldn't go, I get a more tense feeling. So what I tend to do is I'll hover my pencil over the page, or maybe I'll think like, oh, I want to put a mark down here. And so before doing that, I'll anticipate, like, sort of imagine putting the mark down, or put my pencil as if I'm going to make that mark. And then I analyze this feeling inside. Like, how does that feel? Does that feel good? Does that feel restrictive? Or does that feel relaxed? And if it's relaxed, I put it down. And after a while, it just got easier and easier. And I was building this thing that made it so I don't have to think, and I can just draw and find stuff in that. And with this, the stuff I'm doing right now, and I think even with the scribble technique, that's why and the scribble technique, for those who don't know, is just where I start scribbling stuff, like random shapes, and I'm just moving my arm wherever it wants to go, and then I'm looking at it, at the mess I've made, and I'm trying to find stuff within it. I think it's all aided from this private practice of just letting your arm do what it wants and trusting yourself. Like, trust your subconscious knows what it wants to do. And again, it took many years to develop this. I'm still working on it. And what I've started to do nowadays, maybe for the past, 7 months, I guess, is to extend the judgment even further. So if I say, like, well, I see something like this, instead of saying, like, oh, I drew a flowy line, and then it's like, I see a mermaid, instead of even questioning that, I don't even question that. Like, I let the conscious thing be part of it. Like, maybe you do see a mermaid. Sometimes I'll fight the conscious part, and sometimes I won't. But it's this thing of accepting whatever comes. And I mentioned this, that I was in therapy before, and there's this thing, what's it called? Unconditional positive regard. And it's a Rogerian technique of a psychotherapy where basically the therapist, no matter what happens, you just give your acceptance. You just give your positive feelings towards the person and whatever they have to bring, and you do not judge it, you do not dismiss them, you do not look down on them or say, like, you're a bad person. It's more just, okay, it is. It just is. Whatever you're bringing to the table, that's fine. That's just okay. So I kind of do that with my drawing. It's like, okay, whatever it is, it is. If it's stupid, it's stupid. But, oh, no, wait, that's judgment. Okay. If I think it's stupid, then that's fine. But that's not what's necessary to bring to the table. Just accept it. Just bring this acceptance. And I think, I don't know, it really helps. Like with this drawing. So let me talk more about the drawing now. So in the beginning, I started with this very loose, smudgy thing, and I saw a face. So where does this method come into it? So first thing is, I wasn't intending to do anything, and then the second thing is I saw a face. Now, the not intending to do anything and making smudge marks, that is not conscious. That's just moving subconsciously. You're moving your arm wherever it wants to go. Maybe it's part of it is also the friction of the paper. But then when I saw a face, that is sort of conscious. It's kind of unconscious or subconscious, but kind of conscious in that I'm seeing something. But then the non-judgment is to say, okay, that's okay. You see a face. What do you see? And then trying to just put down what you see. Then there are other parts, like with the arm, right? So I did this guy, and I was sort of happy with the face. It's like, yeah, that's kind of... I don't really see the stuff in my head, and I've talked about that many times before, but I do get a sense of like, yeah, I see a face in there. Okay, bring that out. Then there's this thing of, okay, I drew the arm, but the arm looks really wrong, so I want to scrap it. And this is what I would fight against. Because, I'm doing a recording, right? I'm showing this. I'm sharing this with a bunch of people who watch my YouTube videos. I want to destroy this. And the same is true for my sketchbook, too. Sometimes or at least it was in the beginning. It's like, I want to rip this page out and burn it. I don't like looking at this. And this is a sign of my mistake. And this feels like, again, I'm adding a bunch of judgments. And so what I have to do is ignore that. Like, no, that's okay. Just don't worry about it. Keep going. And by having that kind of like, it's okay. Whatever you do, it's okay. I'm able to continue. I'm able to draw the other characters. I'm able to turn this into not just, you're drawing one thing and then it turned out bad and you scrap it, but hey, let's just keep going. And I think after a while, what happens is when you take this type of attitude and you put that on top of your practice, that's when you really start improving. Because what happens is, rather than being all upset, like, oh, I wanted to do this and it didn't work out, and so it's a failure, no, it's not. There's no need for judgments. There's no need to put that label on. Like, yeah, maybe it's not what you intended. Fine. So give it another shot and try to achieve what you had intended. Or else, maybe it is something that could be something unexpected. Or maybe it's just something to learn from. So when I do this, the reason, like, okay, so I draw some of the things I draw and the lines I put down. So right now I'm putting down pen lines. And what I'm doing is I'm putting down the line wherever I feel, and I'm trying to remain pretty open and free, but I'm also analyzing it after the fact and thinking, how would I do it differently? So I put like these dots to represent spittle coming out of this middle character's mouth. And when I look at it, what I see are 3 dots and then like a few other ones, but these 3 dots seem too even, too regular. And so the mental note is next time I'm not going to do that. Next time I'm going to try and vary the shapes a bit more. And so I think that's how that's something I carry over. With the arm, it's something I carry over. Next time I'm going to do it differently. So it's not about stopping yourself from doing it. Because if I just threw it away and was sad about it, I'm not going to do more drawings. But if I think, like, no, that's okay, and next time I'm going to do that better, I'm going to think more about it, I'm going to approach it differently, then it's more reason for me to draw, right? So you have to be giving yourselves reasons to draw, not reasons to not draw. And I think when I was starting out, I just kept giving myself reasons to not... Myself. That's a Freudian slip. I was giving myself reasons to not draw. So things like a reason to not draw is like, I suck, this sucks, I'll never be good, this isn't as good as, you know, whoever's art. And what else? I don't know. I think those are the main ones. I'm a failure, stuff like that. It makes you feel like not drawing. Whereas, it's okay, don't worry about it, do another one. This part's cool. I don't know. Stuff like that makes me want to draw more. So, the secret of this whole video is I just had to fill up time for the speed sketch. And when I start these videos, I'm like, oh no, what am I going to talk about? And then I have to think of something to talk about. So now I'm pretty excited that it's like, yes, I made it. There's only 10 seconds left. And some of that time I can just see this part. See, oh, hope it helped. And thanks for watching.